welcome back to my channel. My name is Shelby and today I'm sharing with you 5 emotional romance recommendations. I have done this video like 2 or 3 other times, but I love emotional romances, so I always have more to recommend. I will link the other 2 that I have made down below in case you are looking for more recommendations. As always, I will link all these books down below and let's get right into it. The first one I have is The Cabin by Jacinda Wilder. And this is a very interesting romance because the first half actually focuses on a couple named Nadia and Adrian. They are married and Adrian unexpectedly passes away from cancer. Nadia is left grief-stricken. He leaves her this cabin in the middle of nowhere and she ends up going there to grieve. And that is where she meets her neighbor Nathan. He also has a really heartbreaking past and it is about them finding love together and dealing with grief and helping each other heal. It's about second chances, new beginnings, and it is a very, very heartbreaking read. This one had me crying so much in the first half of it. I definitely needed a tissue box. One of the most emotional romances I have ever read. So if you are looking for a good cry, I think you would really like this one. I'm keeping the synopsis kind of brief because I think it's good to go into this one blind. And if any of that sounds appealing to you, I think you'd really like it. Then I have Tragic by Devney Perry. This is technically the 3rd book in the Lark Cove series, but it can 100% be read as a standalone. It's about our 2 main characters, Kane and Piper. Piper is recently divorced and so she moves to Lark Cove into this house, and her next door neighbor in the middle of the woods is named Kane. 3 years ago he moved to Lark Cove because something really terrible happened in his life and he needed to get away from everything and everyone. He is very reserved, very closed off, and a very angry and sad individual, and the 2 of them end up having this relationship where they just hook up together, and both of them have a lot of terrible things that have happened in their past and they are trying to heal from those things and they heal one another. And this one personally affected me because it does deal with some topics of infertility and how it feels to want a baby and not have one, and that really resonated with me because I spent a long time feeling that way, and so maybe this one was a little extra emotional for me. But even with that aside, it was a very emotional read, and if you like things that are small town and kind of in the middle of the woods, I think you would enjoy this too. And The Cabin is also in the middle of the woods, so both of them are kind of people who are isolated in the middle of the woods. Then I have Sex Not Love by Vi Keeland. This is about Natalia and Hunter, and they meet when they are both in a wedding. Their best friends are getting married, so she's the maid of honor and he is the best man, and they almost hook up after the wedding, but Natalia has kind of sworn off playboys, so she gives him a fake number and hightails it out of his hotel room. They never expect to see each other again, but of course like a year or 2 later their friends end up having a baby, so they are brought back together again, and this time he asks for her number and she gives him a real number, but it is not her number, it is her mom's number. She thinks he'll finally get the hint, but he actually ends up calling up her mom when he's in the same city as her, and he shows up for Sunday dinner and he proposes this idea that they should have 8 weeks of fun together because he's going to be in her same city for 8 weeks for work, and she agrees to do it with him just to have some fun, just hooking up only, sex, not love. And Hunter has a very dark past, and that is what is so emotional about this story. He's a very tortured hero and he doesn't think he deserves love and happiness, and that really affected me and it definitely made me shed some tears. This one has a lot more humor in it than the other 2 that I mentioned, so if you like a combo of emotional and humorous, I think you would like this one a lot. Then I have Unforgettable by Melanie Harlow, and this is about April and Tyler. It is a second chance romance. It is also a sports romance. They were high school sweethearts, but then something tore them apart and they haven't seen each other in a really long time. Tyler went on to become a pro baseball player and April ended up working for her family's company and she is an event planner. And now Tyler is back in their small town because he is no longer playing pro, so he is now working, I think, as like a coach for the local high school. And it is a second chance romance between them, and it jumps back and forth timelines between when they were dating as teens and currently. And the things that happened between them in the past were so emotional. So if you like good emotional second chance romances, especially if they have a little bit of sports involved, I think you'd really enjoy this one. Then I have On the Way to You by Candy Steiner. This is one of my absolute favorite Candy Steiner books, and it's one of her most underrated. And this is about Emery and Cooper. Cooper has lived in the same small town for her whole life, and she comes from a really rough home life, and she is differently abled. I believe she has a prosthetic on one of her legs, and she's always had a dream of going to Seattle, and she ends up meeting this guy who comes to eat at her diner, and his name is Emery. He is on a road trip to go to Seattle, and when he learns about her dreams to go to Seattle, he actually offers to take her with him on a road trip, and she ends up saying yes, and they go on this road trip together. and it is their romance. It is very angsty. It deals with mental health issues, and it is a very heavy book. It's new adult but not college, and I really enjoyed this one. Like I said, it's one of my favorites by Candy Steiner. It made me cry so much, and I recommend it to just about everyone, and most of the people I've recommended it to have really enjoyed it. So I thought I only had 5, but I guess I have 6 recommendations. The last one that I have is The Air He Breathes by Brittany C. Cherry. Brittany C. Cherry is known for having emotional romances, and I read this one a few months ago, and it was just so heartbreaking. It's about 2 people named Elizabeth and Tristan. Elizabeth's husband has died, and she left her home and kind of went somewhere else for a while because she couldn't stand to be in the same house that she was in with her husband. And now she's a single mom to her daughter, and they've moved back to their home. And since the time that she left, she's had a new neighbor, and his name is Tristan. He has a really dark past, and he's clearly in a lot of pain and also grieving himself. And both of them end up having this relationship to try and heal themselves from their pain and kind of pretend that the other person is the person that they lost, which is super toxic. So they have this toxic relationship. It is very emotional and hard-hitting. There are a couple twists along the way. So if you're looking for a good ugly cry, this one definitely will do it for you. Anything by Brittany C. Cherry really will, but this one in particular I found to be just really heartbreaking. So those are 6 romance recommendations I have for you guys. I'd love to hear your favorite romances in this subgenre. As always, I will link all of these down below, and I will see you guys on my next one. Bye.